Hey there, LIT. Part 2 in our series is to look at structure. Structure are all the bits that go together in a passage to create meaning. Now, we're using the teaching target to unpack Haggai chapter 1. And what I've done for us is I've created a bit of a structure here. I'm looking at verses 1 to 4. I think they are addressing the problem that God raises through the prophet Haggai. I'm also wanting to look at then verses 5 to 11. I think that's the next key section where God talks about the consequences. Here's the problem, he says at the start, and here's the consequences for your neglect. You know, they've been neglecting the temple, they've failed to rebuild it, which basically means they're neglecting God. And so he says, I've actually sent consequences for that. You've harvested little, you eat but never have enough, you drink, never have your fill. And so he says twice, he says, give careful thought to your ways. Think about what's going on and consider why it's happening. And as they do that, then you get their last section, verses 12 to 15, where you get the response of the people. Zerubbabel, Joshua, and in fact the whole people obey God. And they're stirred up and they begin working on the temple. And so you've got that flow. You've got the problem, the consequences, and then the response of the people. You've got those repeated phrases. You've got this sense that God is not happy with their apathy, their neglect to live for Him and His kingdom. But you've also got these questions being raised because the passage talks about how God sent the drought. And so does that mean when God sends a drought today, it's judgment upon us, or it's because we've been neglecting Him in some way? You've got to think about that. That's a question you might want to explore. Then finally, you're looking at Old Testament and New Testament allusions, thinking about how does this connect with the rest of the Bible. You might want to look at the start of Ezra to see what happens when they return. You've also got allusions to Deuteronomy 28, the blessings and curses when they obey or disobey God in the land. You've got a little hint to Proverbs where they fear the Lord. Well, that's a wise thing to do. Proverbs says, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And then you're going to think forward to Jesus and how He might fulfill this as the one who perfectly obeys God. And actually, He Himself says that He's the temple. And as He dies and rises again, He is the dwelling of God in the flesh. And actually, we as the people of God also become the temple as God's Spirit dwells in us. So you're thinking about structure, and those little blocks are now going to create some meaning for us.